This video is going to go through the concept of perspective in writing, which is also referred to as point of view. We use this term in everyday language, this term perspective. So sometimes people might say something like, I want to hear your perspective on this, which means they want to hear your opinion, your point of view. They want to hear what you think. So how do you view all of this? Or they might say, I just want to put things into perspective. So they just want to understand how important everything is in the grand scheme of things. We also use it for drawing and art, so that's why I have this picture over here. Is that perspective in art, perspective means that you're having all of your lines kind of converge on a single point, so it gives the illusion that things are vanishing off in the distance. So this is from a certain person's perspective, and that's clear from how all these are angled toward these two vanishing points. Okay, so we use perspective in basically the same way for poetry and literature. So perspective means the point of view of the narrator in a story or poem. So there are three different perspectives, three different persons that we talk about when we're talking about this. So you can have first-person perspective. This is where the narrator is actually a person in the story, and they're consistently using words like I, my, us, we, our, me. So it's like that person is telling their own story. It's like they're having a first-hand experience with it. Second-person perspective is very rare in literature. In fact, I could have probably put this out of order because this is so rare that you will probably not see it in the books that you read for school. Outside of when I'll have you read one just to see how it can happen. But it is something that is on very rare occasions used. This is where you, the reader, are the main character in the book, or in the story, or in the poem. And the narrator is actually telling you what you are doing, so they use words like you and your constantly. So this is not common. Third-person perspective is where the narrator is not a character in the story and just tells what other people are doing. So this is still fairly common. They'll use words like he, she, him, her, they, them, it. And they will not talk about themselves at all. So even in first-person perspective, they might use a lot of these words when they're talking about other people. But they will, in third-person perspective, they will not talk about themselves. They will not be using these words at all. Third person can get a little bit more complicated because you can have third person limited or third person omniscient. For the third person limited perspective, the narrator is limited to following just one character and all of their thoughts. So they're not going to go back and forth between what a lot of different characters are dealing with. So it won't have one scene that follows character A and then cut away to a different scene following character B, and then another scene following character C. It's all going to be from that one person's perspective, but they still won't be using words like I, me. So maybe there's a character named Bob that they're following in the story. It's going to talk about everything that is happening to Bob and all the things that Bob is feeling, all the things that he is witnessing. So he might talk about the other people around him, but still you're going to follow Bob throughout the entire story. The third person omniscient perspective means that you're going to be following many different characters, and the narrator will be able to tell you what all those different characters are feeling. So now you might have Bob dealing with one thing, and then it'll cut away to a scene where Bob isn't even there. It'll be about somebody named Nancy, maybe. And it'll talk about what Nancy is dealing with and all the things that Nancy is feeling. And then it'll cut away to another scene where neither of them are there, and now it's following somebody named Clara. Okay, so it'll go between many different characters and talk about what they're thinking. If you have ever heard the word omniscient, this will be easy to remember because the word omniscient means all-knowing, like they are everywhere and all-knowing. And that's definitely the case with this type of narrator. They know what is going on with every single person in the story, and they can cut kind of freely between them. So, to hopefully help this make a little bit more sense, I have an example of a very similar piece of writing from each perspective. So from first-person perspective, it's going to be somebody talking about what they did. So it says, I ran to the park and found my little sister there. Notice it does refer to other people, but it's still told from that person's perspective because it uses the word I, it uses the word my. Second person perspective, again, this is very rare, but it would be something like, you run to the park only to find your little sister there. Okay, so it's telling you what you did. Third person limited is going to just follow John in this case. So it says John ran to the park and found his little sister there. He was wondering what was going on with her. He could tell that she was nervous and maybe a little afraid. Okay, so that's called third person limited because it's limited just to what John is going through. He did mention what his sister is dealing with, but it's because John is able to observe that. So he observes that she is nervous. He observes that she is a little bit afraid. Third person omniscient can switch back and forth between many different characters and what they're dealing with. So here we have John ran to the park and found his little sister Donna. He was worried about her. Okay, so this so far has been following John. It has access to his thoughts. He's worried about her. Then it says Donna, however, just wanted him to go away. So that's not something that John can really observe. It switched to Donna's perspective. And this is talking about what she wants. Okay. Now it's going to cut to somebody who's not even in the scene. So it says their mother was on her way as well, just hoping everyone was safe. So it tells her thoughts as well. And it cuts to a scene where John and Donna are not even there. So we have three different people that we're talking about in this and what they're all dealing with. So that means that we have a third person omniscient narrator and we have the third person omniscient perspective. Whereas back here, when we had the third person limited perspective, we only knew what John was thinking and we only saw things that he was able to observe. Okay, so that's the difference between these two. That's it for perspective. Please watch the videos that go through the different poems and stories to get a better handle on this as well. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.